Thank you, Mr Deputy Speaker. Can I start by congratulating the Honourable Member for Bath on progressing with this bill, which does tackle the important issue of sexual harassment in the workplace. I'd like to give my thanks to her pragmatism that she's shown to ensure that the bill can progress with agreement from across the House. And it is slightly disappointing to see the Shadow Minister take such a partisan approach to this, because this bill throughout all stages has had cross-party support during committee stage and at third reading. And it is the case that it's often very difficult for private members' bills to pass through this place. But as the government, we have fully supported this bill because it's such an important issue to tackle. And we have especially made time for an additional Friday to make sure that this bill does indeed pass. We do remain committed to tackling sexual harassment in the workplace by introducing the employer duty to strengthen protections in the Equality Act of 2010. And I'm very pleased, and noting that some concerns from the Honourable Member for Southend and the Honourable Member for Devizes, that there has been a consensus reached here and also in the other place. And I hope that honourable members will agree that this important bill should now be on the statute book. I would like to thank particularly the Honourable Member for Devizes. He does have some genuine concerns about this bill, and he has expressed those not just today but in previous stages as well. And it is a difficult subject, but while there may be differences in views and opinions, I am really pleased, for one, that the Honourable Member for Bath has been able to progress this through both houses, because we need to make our workplaces better and safer, and that is particularly true for women. And we have heard only just recently about some of the experiences of female surgeons within the healthcare system, and with my other hat on as a health minister, I'm particularly pleased that this legislation will hopefully prevent some of those experiences in the future. Now, if I just turn to the Lord's Amendments, if I turn firstly to Lord's Amendment 1, which leaves out Clause 1 to remove the proposed liability of employers for third-party harassment in the workplace, I'm glad to hear the amendment to remove this third-party harassment liability eases concerns, and it could have potentially had a chilling effect on free speech in the workplace, and I'm pleased that that has now been addressed. And there are some, and I know the Honourable Member for Bath is one of those that's disappointed that this amendment has removed the third-party harassment for very valid reasons, but it is about getting a compromise so that we get the majority of the measures of this bill through this place. The government believes that it's important that workers are protected against this form of harassment, and good employers are already taking steps to ensure that their employees are protected from harassment by third parties, regardless of the legal position. However, to progress the bill, we've had to be pragmatic and acknowledge the complexities at play and find a suitable balance. And while we want to strengthen protections, we also do not wish to infringe on individuals' rights and freedom of speech. Everyone has the right to their views and to debate them, just as we're doing today, and respecting others' views in the process. So the aim of this bill is to tackle workplace harassment and not limit people's freedoms. It's also important to remember that the removal of the third-party harassment provision from the bill, it will still mean that the remaining measures in the bill to introduce a new duty on employers to take reasonable steps to prevent sexual harassment will continue to take place. The government's priority, therefore, is to ensure that the legislation works effectively, and so we've been consistently consulting with a wide range of stakeholders and have listened to all their views. And as my honourable friend from Southend has done with her own Chamber of Commerce, the government has been doing this more widely. And when concerns regarding the potential chilling effect on free speech were first raised as the bill progressed through the Commons, the government took on board those issues, and it was feared that employers may take unreasonable or drastic measures to avoid liability for harassment for their staff, particularly by third parties, to the extent that they'd feel obliged to shut down conversations in the workplace. And while employers will be expected to take action against workplace harassment, we recognise those actions which should fall short of prohibiting conversations. Free speech is crucial to our way of life, and it's important that we found a way forward. Now, with over 40 amendments tabled against this bill in the other place, following its second reading on the 24th of March, even after the government amendment that we put forward before that, it was clear that there remained concerns that the bill would still have a chilling effect on free speech. And the government took these amendments very seriously, as they were fatal to the bill. And from engagement with stakeholders and peers, we heard the strong level of concern, particularly around the third-party harassment issues. And so we were eager to find a balance and a way forward for the bill to reach the statute book with cross-party support. Therefore, the government has been pragmatic and alive to the issues raised, and therefore consensus was reached with peers by removing all but 2 of their amendments, and the Shadow Minister didn't comment on the other over 38 amendments that we managed to get removed. On the 14th of July, at committee stage, the Lords amended the bill to remove the proposed liability of employers for third-party harassment in the workplace from the bill, which we're asking members to support today. Again, I have said all along, we will not be introducing protection against third-party harassment. It has to be remembered we will still be introducing a new duty on employers to take reasonable steps to prevent sexual harassment in the workplace. So I hope honourable members can see that we are strengthening protections, but have to be alive to the concerns from the other place. Just to touch on Lords Amendments 2, we have accepted the Lords Amendments to Clause 2, page 2, line 27, to leave out all, which means the requirement on employers from taking all reasonable steps to taking reasonable steps in respect to their duty to prevent sexual harassment. And following the amendment, the bill will now place a duty on employers to take reasonable steps, and I understand the removal of all to reasonable means the duty does not go as far as the Honourable Member for Bath would have originally liked, but it does reassure members in the other place that the introduction of a duty to employers to take reasonable steps to prevent sexual harassment will strengthen protection for workers. Now, just to touch on my honourable member for Devise's concerns before I close, I think it's important to say that the government does recognise that sexual harassment in the workplace exists. And while protecting free speech is important, we do constantly hear day in, day out of experiences, particularly of women, but I know the honourable lady opposite also touched on the harassment of men as well. And we cannot stand by and let that continue. There are already guidance and measures in place to encourage employers to protect their employees. There's the tribunal system in place as well. But that clearly isn't enough, and that's why this Workers' Protection Bill is so important. But we have listened to the concerns around impact on freedom of speech as well. So to close, Mr Deputy Speaker, I'm very happy to support the Honourable Member for Bath, to thank her once again for all her work in this place on this bill, to thank her for her pragmatism, because I know they were difficult amendments to accept, but this bill will make a difference to the safety of workers in the workplace, and I congratulate her on her work.